This video is a combination of all the conversations that I had that was started with Alumi's Beginner's Guide Part 1 and 2, where we discuss what builds, strategies, and stats that we all should be focusing on for necromancers in WvW. To make this easier and faster for people, I have made buttons on the top so you could skip right to the topic that you want, although, I would like it if you would watch the whole video so you can get the overall focus of what I'm talking about. If you think this video will help others, give this video a like. It will help the search results, making it easier to find for others who are searching for this video. Let us start with my definition of what a necromancer is. Necromancer is a scholar profession that uses condition or debuffs to do damage to enemy and to heal oneself. But what does that even mean? Being a scholar just means that the person spend most of his or her time researching magic, which limits them to wearing light armor. Necromancers research things that could weaken the body and contrarily take what harms the body to heal themselves and or others, which are called conditions or debuffs. Necromancers have very little direct damaging skills as most other scholars do, but necromancers are hardest to kill due to their research. With their focusing on spells that weaken the body, which lacks the direct damage that most scholars do, and with them being harder to kill, it is the necromancer's job to be a pain in the you know what. Let us talk about what stats that I think is important to the necromancer when I play WvW. Since necromancers are naturally tougher than most other scholars, the best plan is to becoming a glass cannon and doing surprise attacks on your enemies, until they get wise to you. For the glass cannon build, the stats that you should be focusing on are precision, power, and critical damage. The most important stat will be precision, since precision has a direct correlation between precision and your necromancer's chance to get a critical hit. You will want your necromancer's critical chance high enough that your necromancer will be hitting like a truck more often than not. In this case, getting your necromancer's critical chance 50% is optimal for your needs. One might think, why stop at 50% critical hit chance? Would it be better to get 90% or more? Yes, it would be better to get a higher critical hit chance, but not if it means that you have to take skills out of something important to get that high of a critical hit chance. You also have to remember that your necromancer will be with other characters in WvW, where others will be giving buffs or boons to the people around them, which are the opposite of debuffs and conditions. Which some of the buff or boons will increase your necromancer's critical hit chance. Therefore, having 50% will be more than enough to make your necromancer a pain in the you know what. To put things into perspective, here is a table that might help you. At 100% your necromancer will always get a critical hit. At 50% your necromancer will get a critical hit every other hit. At 33% 1 out of every 3 hits your necromancer will get a critical hit. And at 25% 1 out of every 4 hits your necromancer will get a critical hit. Now you may be looking at Alumi's critical chance and saying that 39% is nowhere near 50%, and you will be right, but what you cannot see is that she got superior sigil of perception on her staff and on her axe, which give her plus 10 precision each time she kills a foe, up to a maximum of 25 times that this can happen. Notice that Alumi's critical chance is now at 51%. I like to keep the critical chance as close to 50% when max out so she can get critical damage every other hit. As for the superior sigil of perception on her staff, I believe it is an easy way to gain precision without spending points or buy armor to get critical chance to 50%. After you get the critical chance to 50%, the next two stats that you need to be focusing on are power and the critical damage. Increasing power will improve the base damage, that is what is being multiplied by the critical damage. Getting a critical hit means nothing if your base damage is low, so naturally one will want their base damage as high as possible. At the same time, critical damage is a percentage bonus that will be multiplied to the base damage. Basically, it means higher the critical damage, more that will get multiplied to the base damage. Until you can max out both power and critical damage, you just need to find the right balance for you. For Alumi's traits or build, it's just a reflection of the what stats I said to focus on. Curses tree for her precision. The spite tree for her power. The soul reaping tree for critical damage, and the increase to life force is also especially helpful with my playstyle. I like picking the major traits that helps Alumi when she is in her death shroud, which is a part of my playstyle as well. As I have said before, you should put points into Curses tree until your necromancer's critical chance gets to 50%. Once you get your necromancer's critical chance to 50%, you need to start putting points into the spite tree for power and the soul reaping tree for critical damage. One of the best ways to get your necromancer precision, power, and critical damage is the berserker's armor and weapon sets. When you start playing WvW, it is best to start with using staffs since they have the longest range which you can keep your enemies at bay. I like to start off by running into a crowd of people, placing a few marks on the ground to start spreading the conditions or debuffs around, then to enter Death Shroud and then rush into the crowd using life transfer to cause confusion and panic among your enemies. To be a pain in the for the times that things start going sideways, the key is not to panic. Just remember that since your necromancer is in his or hers in Death Shroud, your foes will have to do damage to your necromancer's life force before they can start doing damage to your necromancer's health, and your necromancer will have doom, that will make one of your foes flee in fear. As for healing, when on the run with conditions on your necromancer, the consume conditions spell is very helpful as it consume your necromancer's conditions as well as give bonus healing for each condition consume, which might be the difference between living or death. Once you get more comfortable in WvW, you can get more aggressive. Your necromancer is very effective against mobs of people by using life force as a shield and then using life transfer to steal health from your enemies to transform it into more life force, which means more shield for your necromancer. One necromancer attacking at the right time can stop a mob of enemies fairly fast. For even more aggression, you can have your necromancer switch out his or her staff for an axe dagger combo, which can be devastating at medium to close range. When a Lumi is not in combat, there are two methods that I like to get a Lumi's life force back. One of the quickest ways to gain life force is to kill harmless ambient creatures like rabbits, frogs, or rats, which can get your necromancer ready for the next fight, which just might be over the next hill. One must ask, what about 1 versus 1? My response is one does not fight 1 versus 1 in WvW. However, if your necromancer is doing his or her job of causing your enemies to flee in a panic, your necromancer can chase them down by using spectral walk and dark path to catch up to the enemy. Your necromancer should not only catch up with the enemy, but to get ahead of them. Once ahead of your enemy, your necromancer then can cast life transfer, then doom to send your foe back to your friends. One of the most popular strategy that my server like to do is what is called portal bombing, which you get a bunch of people together in one spot out of sight of the enemy and have a mesmer use his or her portal spell to teleport everyone behind the enemy's lines to wipe them all out. I have talked a lot about how to survive in WvW, but not much about how to win at WvW. The goal is quite simple. The goal is to have your server receive the most points by 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is 1 o'clock UTC Saturday, and the European servers will reset at 18 o'clock UTC. At this point, all of the points earned from the past week will be added to the server's ranking and all servers will be grouped by threes based on their server rankings, and then everything resets. Basically, you want this to look like this for the whole week. Let us start talking about our number one rule in WvW that everyone on my server can agree on, which is always follow a commander. The logic behind that is even a bad commander with a bunch of people will do more than one knowledgeable person by him or herself. Here is one of the best commanders on my server that I know talking about his thoughts on the subject. There is a lot of myths surrounding the commanders. One of these myths is that one has to be good in order to get the title of commander, which is not true. The only two requirements that the title has is 100 gold pieces and a level 11 character. I suggest that you get to know your server commanders, find the good commanders, and follow them. You will recognize the good commanders, because they will know the right time to attack and can capture points quickly. Even though you have to follow a commander, you can still make suggestions to help out. Like, telling your commander the veteran supervisor at a resource camp will gain righteous indignation for 5 minutes starting right after when the camp gets captured by the enemy. Righteous indignation is a spell that makes the veteran supervisor immune to most attacks and spells. If your group decides to attack the camp before the 5 minutes is up, the enemy can see that the camp will be under attack from the map, and might double back to save it. Then you will have an immune supervisor and a group of enemies to deal with. As with real estate, when placing your siege equipment, location is everything. When the enemy is defending their towers, for the most part they will focus on the area that is right in front of the gate. So it might be better place the siege equipment off to one side than in the area which the enemy is focusing on. And if the enemy is targeting everything around the gate, you move farther back, and switch to catapults to continue the siege. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps will increase your enjoyment of playing your necromancer in WvW. If you think that I missed something, or got something wrong, please let me know in the comments. I will love to hear what you got to say. Special thanks goes out to ArenaNet for making such a fun game to play.